the beginning of a dream. But as soon as we returned to our home that evening, I realized I might have walked into something else entirely. We stepped into the bedroom, still dressed in the remnants of our wedding joy. I smiled, ready to begin our life together, but as I moved toward his wardrobe to place my bag, his hand gripped mine. Firm. Cold. His eyes darkened as he pulled me back. If you want us to live in peace, if you want my love to last, never open this wardrobe. And never touch or wash the cloth inside. His voice felt heavier than the silence hanging in the room. There's also one more thing. Never look into the standing mirror by my wardrobe. My heart dropped. His tone left no space for questions, but I couldn't help myself. Why? I whispered. His stare hardened. Don't ask me why. Don't tell anyone about this. Ever. I laughed nervously, thinking he was playing some odd newlywed prank. But his face told another story. I was 25 and ready for a life filled with love, but that night, his words weighed on me like a chain. Days passed, but the wardrobe stood there like a silent witness in our room. I often caught myself glancing at it, feeling the pull of curiosity. The mirror, with its dark frame, almost seemed to call me when he wasn't around. One evening, while my husband was out, I stood before the wardrobe. His words echoed in my mind, but the pull was stronger. Slowly, carefully, I opened it. Inside, the cloth hung there. A long, elegant gown of white and purple Indian jade. It looked ancient yet untouched by time. My fingers brushed against it. A gust of cold air rushed out, and in the mirror beside me, something shifted. I turned. My reflection didn't move. The woman staring back at me wore the gown, and she smiled. But it wasn't my smile. That was the night the real story began. I froze. The reflection stood still, her eyes locking onto mine. The smile on her face stretched wider, almost unnatural. I stumbled back, blinking hard. When I looked again, the mirror showed only me. No gown. No smile. I told myself it was my imagination. Maybe the room was darker than I thought. Maybe the gown's colors played tricks on my eyes. But as I closed the wardrobe, I noticed something. A faint smudge on the mirror. A handprint. I wiped it away, heart racing. When my husband returned that night, I didn't say a word. But I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the room felt louder. Every shadow stretched longer. But the mirror haunted me. I stopped dressing in front of it. I covered it with a shawl, but somehow, every morning, I found the shawl folded neatly by the foot of the bed. One night, I woke up to soft whispers. At first, I thought it was my husband talking in his sleep. But he lay beside me, silent, breathing deeply. The whispers weren't coming from him, they were coming from the mirror. I sat up slowly, turning toward the sound. The shawl I had placed over it lay crumpled on the floor. The glass shimmered faintly in the dark. And then, my reflection blinked. But I hadn't. I gasped, shaking my husband awake. Look. I pointed to the mirror, my voice trembling. Something is wrong with it. He groaned, rubbing his eyes. Go back to sleep. I told you not to mess with it. His words sent a chill through me. You knew? I asked. Days passed, but the mirror haunted me. I stopped dressing in front of it. I covered it with a shawl, but somehow, every morning, I found the shawl folded neatly by the foot of the bed. As I held it, the room seemed to darken. The air thickened, and a low hum filled the space. I turned toward the mirror, holding the gown against my body. And there she was. The woman in the reflection. But this time, she wasn't smiling. She pressed her hands flat against the glass, her mouth moving in silent words I couldn't understand. Then, her eyes shifted, meeting mine directly. I felt the tug. Before I could drop the gown, a force pulled me toward the mirror. My feet dragged across the floor, no matter how hard I resisted. Her hands met mine through the glass. Cold as ice. And as I stared into her hollow eyes, I realized. She wasn't trying to get out. She was trying to pull me in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more spine-chilling stories. Stay tuned for the next part of this haunting